Man, I done wasted 2 minutes fiddling around with stuff instead of getting to the point of the video. Peace and blessings, family. What's up with all the daydreamers out there? Please live it. Don't sleep through this thing. We are officially here, and it has taken us 8 years to get here. We're talking about the upgrade to the iPad Pro 2020. That's right, 8 years in the making. That's what we're talking about on this episode of the 1 Minute My Gear episode. And when we say 1 minute, we ain't talking no 60 seconds, man. We talking, hey, bro, I ain't hollered at you in about a minute. So let me holler at you for a minute, man. So like I said, it's been about 8 years since I've upgraded my iPad. And to be honest with you, before owning this one that I currently have, I only owned one other one. So I've only owned 2 iPads in the whole lifespan of the iPad lineup and everything like that. And just to be specific, I'm coming from the iPad 3rd generation. I think at the time they was promoting it as the new iPad or the iPad Retina display. It came out in 2012, I'll say that. So I'm coming from a 2012 iPad all the way up to a 2020 iPad. So from a 3rd generation 32 gigabyte iPad all the way up to an iPad Pro 11-inch model, 128 gigabyte model, man. So it's a leaps and bounds in terms of technology and all this other stuff. But let me go ahead and let you know right now, I'm not gonna dive deep into all the tech spec stuff that everybody likes to talk about and stuff like that. That becomes the overshadowing factor of what the iPad is and what it does and stuff like that. We're gonna be talking more of the user concept. What do I use it for? What do I like of it? What do I like about it as a user? Because I think everybody and their grandma has already talked about tech specs to the point to where that the nipples on that cow ain't giving out no more milk. Matter of fact, it's giving out powder milk. So let's go ahead and deal with the first question right out of the gate. Should you upgrade to an iPad Pro? Should you even get an iPad Pro if it's your first iPad? Should you even upgrade to it if it's your 2nd or 3rd iPad? To be honest with you guys, you're not going to need an iPad Pro. Save that money. For many of you, you can get away with the new iPad, the iPad 7th gen. You could probably get away with that for some of the stuff that you guys are probably doing on a consistent basis. It will be powerful enough to take care of all your daily needs as you're going throughout your day. You're not really doing if you're not doing a lot of heavy video editing, music making, photo editing and stuff like that, iPad 7th generation will probably be your best bet. You can do the iPad Air if you want to. I mean, it's your prerogative. And if you want to do the Pro, that's your prerogative too. But I'm telling you right now, for what many of you are doing, save the money because you're not going to actually use the fullness of what's underneath this hood to get the job done. Let me give you some price differences so you can kind of understand what you're saving. So the iPad 7th gen with the pencil is $529, and that's for the 128 gigabyte model, the max model for that. The 32 gigs, I think is what they got. It ain't worth it. Don't get it. If you're going to do it, go ahead and do the 128. But now if you jump up and go to the iPad Pro 11-inch with the pencil, that's $928. That's $399 difference. If you decide to do the 12.9 inch with the pencil, iPad Pro, that's $1,128. That's $599 difference. Mind you, these are all 128 gigabytes, guys. I'm telling you right now, out the gate, save your money. Don't get the iPad Pro. Get a lower tier. Put that money to savings. Put that money to something that's going to be a lot more productive than buying a device that you're not going to get the full totality of what's underneath the hood out of it. Let's keep it going. So why did I upgrade? So let's go ahead and jump into that. Why did I upgrade? And this is for obvious reasons. Number one, I had the iPad 3, like I said. And that iPad 3, the last iOS update it ever got was iOS 9. So it's out of date. And being that it's out of date, I cannot use any of the apps, most of the apps that I have on there, because as your iOS updates, of course, what happens? Your apps have to update to keep up with the iOS. So because I'm stuck in iOS now with the 3rd generation, I'm out of the loop of anything new that comes out. But not only the new apps, but even apps I've already purchased, I can't download. So I have apps that I've paid money for that I can't use or re-download simply because I am out of date with it. That's the first thing. The second thing is the storage, man. 32 gigabytes is not enough for a creative mind like myself, the creative workflow that I like to do, the amount of videos I like to make, the music I create, all this other stuff. I cannot get by on 32 gigabytes and everything like that. So that's number 2. Number 3, I mean, over time, Apple products are very powerful. They last for a very long time, but over time, the wear and tear of it starts to show, not in the sense of the design or not in the sense of it being beat up physically, but just internally it becomes sluggish over time. That's natural for any device that we have. All devices over time tend to run their shelf life course. And the iPad 3 ran its course in its shelf life. It was time to move on, especially for what I am trying to do. So the other thing is I needed a device that was going to keep up with what I wanted to do. So that's another reason why I needed to upgrade. And the iPad 3rd generation just wasn't going to cut the mustard for me, guys. It just wasn't going to do it. So now, why did I decide to get the iPad Pro? Why did I decide to get the iPad Pro? And to be honest with you, I wasn't going to get the iPad Pro at first. I was going to get the iPad 7th gen. You remember how I told you that the 7th gen probably would be powerful enough to do many of our daily tasks that we would do on it and stuff like that. It would be, I mean, it would fit with what I do for the most part. But why didn't I get the 7th gen? And let me tell you why I was going to get the 7th gen. It was strictly on price. I wasn't even thinking about usage. It was strictly on the price. The cheapest price, the cheapest device for the cheapest price. But I had it in the cart too, but before I press order, buy, whatever the case may be, I thought about these aspects of it, which made me change my mind and go with the iPad Pro. I didn't get it simply because of, number one, longevity of the iOS. Knowing that the 3rd generation is out of date and coming from a out of date iOS, I'm not saying that the 7th gen will be out of date anytime soon. I just simply wanted to I had to think about the longevity of the updated iOS as time progresses and the different things that happens with the iPad that the 7th generation lower tier model would not be able to take advantage of probably, man. There would be upgrades to it that I'm telling you right now, at some point in time, that 7th gen, for what I do, it would become obsolete a whole lot faster than the iPad 2020. And then also workflow growth, man, because of what I do with the music creativity, with the videography that I do, the photo editing that I do, all these things I do on my iPad. So that answers the questions, what do I do on my iPad? All these things I do on my iPad, and because it's such heavy usage, and I mean, I put this iPad to the test because it's such heavy usage with these different tasks that I do and different things that I do within the spectrum of my art form. I have to have a device that keeps up with it underneath the hood. So I do think with what I do, the iPad 7 would slow me down a little bit. Probably wouldn't be much, but a little bit. But the main factor was just the longevity of the lifespan of the device and everything like that. So I think the iPad Pro 2020 would run its course a whole lot longer than the iPad 7th gen. You got to remember the 7th gen is an entry level iPad. It's made with older parts. It's done that on purpose to lower the price. So it's an entry level device. So if you are a heavy duty creative, whether it's professional or hobby, I can see why you would want to go for the iPad Pro, but I still stand by that if you are not a heavy creative, whether it be business or hobby, stick with the lower tier models, man. Trust me, save the money. But for those of us like me, the iPad Pro is the way to go for me. That's me. That's me justifying why I got it. So, but let me talk about this though. My biggest mistake when it came to my purchase, I don't regret getting the iPad Pro at all. I don't regret getting it at all. I don't regret getting it at all. But my biggest regret is not getting the 1 terabyte storage. And let me tell you why. 128 gigabytes, yes, is a huge jump from 32 gigabytes. But I'm telling you right now, you add video, photo, and music onto this device, 128 gigabytes is nothing. I mean, it gets eaten up extremely fast once you pile all this on there. And I noticed that just in the couple of weeks that I was playing with it, working on it, putting stuff on here, I ran through those gigabytes. I looked down at my storage one day and I had like almost 32 gigs. I was back down to a base level model of the entry level. I had 32 gigs, man. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I have to take some stuff off, shift some stuff around, move some stuff off and everything like that. So I still get the kind of the storage stress bug and everything like that. When I say bug, I'm talking about the bug in my mind, me being bugged and agitated by it. But 128 gigs is still better. But at the end of the day, I still have to stress about managing the storage space that's on here. So I should have got the 1 terabyte. It would have calmed me down about using it, but I think it would have still made me kind of reckless with the 1 terabyte, just throwing stuff on there. But at the end of the day, I still manage and make it work. So I have to manage my storage a whole lot better. So I use an external drive to take stuff off of it and make sure that I can clear up the space. So it's like with video editing. A lot of the stock footage I use, I don't house on here because LumaFusion allows you to be able to plug in the drive, pull stuff directly into the app without having to first put it on the iPad. All my stock footage sits on an external drive, which helps me out in the time that I need all that space and everything like that. So I'm rambling, guys. But now let me get to that. So that was my biggest mistake. My biggest mistake was not getting the 1 terabyte in the 11-inch, right? But here's a regret. So let me give you a regret. I regret not getting the 12.9 inch. Now, I love the 11 inch. I love the size of it. I love the feel of it. I love the way that it feels in my hands, the size. I love all that. I just said all that twice. But I do love it. It feels right when using it, when walking around using it. I use it at work, when I walk around jotting down notes with the Apple Pencil and stuff like that. It feels great. But to be honest with you, I would have loved to have the screen real estate of that 12.9 inch. It's a $200 jump. But I think it would have been worth it if I would have just been patient and waited it out. I wasn't patient. I mean, I should have waited a little bit longer, stacked up a little bit more money, and went ahead and got the 1 terabyte 12.9 inch. But I'm not mad. I'm just, it's a regret. And we're allowed to have regrets. Let me have a regret. Okay? I'm not sending it back. I just kind of regret it. But next time I upgrade, I'll get you know what I'm saying? Smell what I'm talking about, all right? But anyways, let's get to a big one, a really, really huge one for me, and that is that's the Files Manager app / the reading of the external hard drive or the usage of the external hard drive. The Files Manager app is what made me really want to upgrade my iPad. It's simply because it lets me know that Apple is seeing where their device can really be capable of doing. And the iPad 3, it was like, oh my goodness, it was like you was locked in. You had to have an act of Congress to put anything on the iPad. You had to like go through deep. You had to fight World War 25 to get anything on your iPad, and it was aggravating back then. But now it's a whole lot more easier than what it used to be with the Files Manager app, the capability to read from an external hard drive and stuff like that. So it opens up a plethora of possibilities, but here is where Apple is falling short, and perhaps this will come up with better iOS updates or anything like that, or even with a new iPad a few years down the line, hopefully not too far down the line. Let me put it like this. You cannot tote that this is as powerful as a computer or that it can replace the laptop and all that other stuff when it cannot read from the external drive. So on my computer, if I got files on my external drive, which I do to save space, and I got my apps on my internal drive, when I pull up any of my programs, they read from the external drive. I don't have to load them onto there. Now there's bits of files that go on there to help it read, but it's not pulling everything on there. So right now, if I plug my external drive into my iPad, I have to pull the files into my iPad in order to use them. Other than that, it's of no use except for a backup storage. That's really all it is, okay? It's a glorified promotion of backing up your files. That's all it is. I think Apple can get to that point, and I think they're going to push there, but perhaps it's either the iOS is not powerful enough, the device itself is not there, or the developers haven't figured out a way to create it to where it can do it, which I don't get that. But I think it's really the iOS that needs to get there to where it can pull those files over. Once it gets there, even if it wasn't part of this particular model, and it came out on a 2022 model, and they was like, on this 2022 model only can it do read or write, I am there, baby. I'm spinning the cash, making it work, making it rain, but I ain't gonna twerk. I get it. I understand that Apple is moving towards it replacing in some sense of a laptop and a computer, but at the end of the day, until then, for me, it's not there. It's there, but it's not there, if that makes sense. I guess it all depends on your workflow. Your workflow will dictate. Your workflow is going to dictate what the iPad can do. Whether it will replace your laptop or your computer is what I mean by that. It just depends on what you do. And for what I do, it's not there yet. I touch my computer less, indeed, but when it comes to certain editing ways and when it comes to certain things that I'm doing and working on, I gotta go to my rig, man, because it's not going to give me the workflow that I need. But for smaller projects, real smaller condensed projects, like on the fly, run and gun projects that I'm working on, it does the business. Like I said, it does the business. It gets the job done. So it's a yes and a no when it comes to whether it can replace the laptop or your computer and stuff like that. It's just it's a yes and a no. But anyways, this video has gone long enough, guys. So at the end of the day, I love this device. This device is amazing. If you are creative, do not get the lower terabyte. Don't get the lower gigabyte. Get the 1 terabyte. Save yourself some stress. Please do. But not only that, guys, Apple, the external hard drive, you need to make it to where it can read from it. I don't know if it's you guys or if it's the developers, but make it to where it can read from the external hard drive. If you do that, man, I'm in there like swimwear on a big grizzly bear, naked in the woods, running around eating honey off the honey tree with piglets, shouting. I'm there for it. I don't know why I just said all. So again, guys, that's my thoughts on the iPad Pro, man. Why I upgrade it? Hey, why I use it? How I use it? Why I use it? Yeah, why I use it and all of this stuff. My thoughts on it and everything like that. So, I hope that this helps somebody figure out what they wanted to do in their next step of equipment and stuff like that, man. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna be honest with you. Always remember that the equipment doesn't make an individual dope. It's the mind that's operating it that's already dope. The tool is just there to help you. It's a tool to get from point A to point B. What you have in your hand right now is all you need. Much love and respect, guys, man. This is your boy Sleep. Peace.